What's up, friends? Today we are here with the Flex 2 Pro, and today I'm going to tell you if it's worth keeping your current Flex or upgrading to this brand new board. Stay till the very end to find out. Alrighty, I want to keep this review sort of short and sweet today. I know my reviews get super long sometimes because I have a lot to talk about, but today's board is an awesome product, and I just want to highlight a couple of things that I like, a couple of things that I don't like, and then go over my performance and RBEM score as per usual, and just sort of give you guys an idea of what we're looking at in terms of Flex 2 Pro versus Flex Pro versus other boards that I've tested. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. Alrighty, let's start off with the things about the Flex 2 Pro that I like. The Flex 2 Pro really is an iteration on the original Flex in that it shares a lot of similarities, and those go down to the motors, the trucks, the bushings, the drive system, the deck, pretty similar enclosures, and the same great ride feel, the same great ESC response, and a couple things that are even better. Starting off with the lighting. Go ahead and turn the board on here. Got a really cool greeting effect. And then you've got a whole host of different lighting modes that you can use to light up the night with your board. Of course, they're not necessarily the most useful thing, but they do look cool. The lighting system is done really well. You have a built-in brake light at the back. You have turn signals that work by tilting the remote and double pressing the trigger, which, by the way, the trigger on this remote is not a dead man's trigger, it's just a trigger to trigger functions. Lighting is one thing, but the other important thing that was upgraded is the battery. This thing gets more range than the Flex Pro by several miles, and that really makes a difference in everyday usability. You've got the brand new Rexus remote. Love this thing. Huge upgrade over the original Flex Pro remote. You've also got a new charge port with smart functionality built in to let you use it with the Exway flash charger, which is their big, super powerful fast charger. And overall, it just really keeps the characteristics of the Flex Pro that I love. That is really comfortable ride feel, easy carvability, really predictable and smooth and strong acceleration for a urethane board. And it just brings together a really nice experience of riding the board. And I don't really have any major complaints about it. So those are the things that I like. I think most people will share the same opinion as me. This is definitely an iterative upgrade, but they kept all the good things and added some better things, so I can't really complain. While we're talking about the upgrades on this board, I wanted to cover a really important side grade here. Some might call it a downgrade even, but I think this is really important because this old charger, the GAN 210 watt one, seriously got so hot that it was actually concerning to me for people to use in their homes on carpet and other materials like that. The new charger that is provided with the Flex 2 Pro by default is this GAN 51 volt charger. However, it comes out to only 167 watts. And that is definitely a downgrade in terms of charging speed, but it doesn't get nearly as hot. I'll try and put some thermal footage on screen of this compared to that, but this thing runs much cooler and the form factor is slightly different. I'm not sure if it's better or worse. It's honestly about the same for in my backpack, but overall, I'm pretty happy with this charger. I don't think that it needs to charge super fast anyways, but if you do want to charge super fast, it's also compatible with the monstrous charger, the 1050 watt, that you can go ahead and pay half of the board's value for, because this thing is expensive. But anyways, I just wanted to highlight the fact that they did change the charger problem that I mentioned in the Flex Pro review. Now, everything can't be all sunshine and rainbows. What do I not like about this board? Well, on the flip side of keeping so many things the same as the Flex Pro. I kind of wish that they did a little bit more in terms of performance and unique features on this board. We have the Flex Paragon. I think it's called the Flex Paragon, maybe not just the Paragon, but that's a different version of this board that has a swappable battery and 14S and obviously a different ESC. I like that a lot better than this one in concept, especially when you're going to be increasing the price. So I guess one negative part of this board is that it is very similar to the Flex Pro, and you're really going to experience a lot of the same performance characteristics minus the range. So I wish they did a little bit more, and sort of hand in hand with that comes the price. We see a bit of a price increase on this up to $1150, and it's hard to justify that when you get almost the same performance as the first board, but on the other hand, you get more range, you get the new remote, and you get lights. So you kind of have to decide what you're paying for here. Of course, we are definitely at the high end of those flexible urethane boards. Your backfires and your MIPOs tend to be a little bit cheaper. There is a SKU of the MIPO that's more expensive with gear drives and whatnot, but that feels overkill for a flexible urethane board, in my opinion. But the price is a little bit higher on this one, and that is something that I would see as a negative. Kind of makes you think, do I really need to upgrade to the Flex 2 Pro, or can I just keep my Flex? But really depends on your priorities. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump straight into the performance characteristics. We do the PSPEC score for my performance scoring, which includes acceleration, braking, range, top speed, 100-meter sprint, and torque. And starting that off with the acceleration, the Flex 2 Pro, and you're going to hear me repeat this many times, performed nearly identical to the original Flex Pro and comes in 8th place, sort of alongside the Flex 2 Pro. It actually came with a slightly higher time than the Flex Pro. This is only 0.15 seconds, so it really could just be conditions on that day, exact battery charge, exact weight, all kinds of things, wind, but pretty much identical performance. But on the other hand, it is really up there, faster 0 to 20 than the Defiant 1, and pretty close to some of my DIY boards, and not far behind the boards with big pneumatic tires. So pretty good performance there. On the other side of the acceleration, we have the 100-meter sprint, where the Flex 2 Pro, again, comes in ever so slightly slower than the regular Flex Pro. Strange, but again, could be rider weight, could be wind, could be riding conditions, and could be the exact battery charge. I try to do these tests when they're always at full charge, but you never know. Sometimes they vary a little bit. This one is 0.37 seconds slower than the Flex Pro. Again, very, very similar performance. Hard to say what the difference is really. Coming in towards the top of the list though, again, really impressive for a urethane board, and I've always felt that the Flex Pro had more than enough power for a urethane board, and this is echoing that same sentiment with the Flex 2 Pro. Next up, the braking test. Did pretty well in braking, coming in to above the Flex Pro with a little bit better braking at 21 feet best. Comes in right under the Atlas Pro, the Nomad N3, and a couple DIYs. So pretty good braking performance. Definitely got some good control and able to slow you down from those high speeds that it's capable of hitting. The stall torque is again very similar to the Flex Pro. However, ever so slightly higher than the Flex Pro. Interesting comparing these two and seeing these slight differences, but again, it's basically the same ESC with added lights functionality. So decent performance towards the top of all of the urethane boards that I've ever tested. Actually, it is the top of all the urethane boards that I've tested. Really good performance from them with 22.33 Newton meters on the stall torque test. As far as max speed, this was actually an interesting comparison. The Flex Pro originally, when released, was claimed to do 28 miles an hour. I ended up testing it again recently, and I ended up getting 30 miles an hour, which I thought was interesting because after this drops past like 90%, it can only do 28 miles an hour. However, when you're at full charge, you are able to get that full 31 miles an hour for a little bit. After that, it does drop off a little bit and sort of stays at that 28 mile an hour max for a good bit of the discharge. This does come in the middle-ish of the list for max speed. It's competing against much sturdier, much more stable boards, but at the same time, this is easily able to hit 31 on the stock bushings without having speed wobbles, and I really like it for being able to do that. It's great that a board can have such stable yet turnable stock bushings. So that is all of the characteristics on my charts for the PSPEC. We have one more, which is range, and this is the one that I was super excited about when it came to the PSPEC because I don't have any other split pack urethane board that can get nearly as much range as this one, and I already know off the top of my head because I just remember it got 17.5 miles of range on a 12S2P of Samsung 50S cells. That is pretty impressive, especially for someone who weighs about 180 pounds with gear and on the same testing route as everything else. So if you go back and look at the range chart, which I'll put on screen now, you compare this to the Flex Pro, which only got so the Exway Flex Pro got 14.2 miles of range, and the Flex 2 Pro got 17.5. Honestly, if Exway wanted to charge more, just considering this as a battery upgrade, I feel like that's almost fair. And then you basically get the awesome remote for free and the lights. So I go back and forth in my head on the value proposition of this upgrade over the Flex Pro, and for some people it might make a lot of sense. So we come out to that 17.5 miles, which is really great, and that brings our total PSPEC up to a very respectable 45.3, and that actually comes in decently high on the list comparing to the Meepo Envy, obviously the Flex Pro, the Alice Pro, and some other nearby boards. I do really like the performance to range ratio on this board, and I think it really suits the form factor. So pretty happy with that. While we're talking about range, let's look at the board range actual versus advertised chart, which is sort of new. You will have seen it if you've looked at some of my other recent reviews. And we'll see that the Flex 2 Pro comes in towards the bottom of the chart, which is actually the top of performance. And with the 17.5 miles out of the 26.72 advertised range, it's about 52% off of the advertised range, which unfortunately is not that bad. We've got a couple in here that are 100% off, 180% off on the MaxFine Max 6. Catch my last video if you are interested in hearing me rant about that board. But overall, the performance of the claimed range versus the actual range that I got is pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with that overall. So, performance is great, board ride's great. Let's talk about my personal opinions on the board as a whole in a quick succession fashion. It's time for the RBEM score, and I'm going to spoil it right out of the gate and say this thing got the highest score ever on our chart, beating out the Nomad N3 by about 2 points. Really, really impressive. So let's go through the RBEM score. We're going to do this really quickly because I know that this board is very similar to the Flex Pro, and I just want to cover the things that are different. So starting off right off at the beginning, we have build quality. I put this in at 8.5. The build quality of the Exway boards is generally great. We do have plastic on the motor guards here. Could be metal, would be nice, not necessary. Belt drive system is good, trucks are good, the enclosures are good. deck is good, everything's solid. The grip tape is really nice, sticks to the deck well. Wheels are good. The remote build quality is much better than the old remote. Nice and solid, really good feel in the hand. And it's got bumpers on the front and back to help you preserve your deck. So, build quality, 8.5 out of 10. Next up, the deck. Again, very, very similar to the Exway Flex Pro. However, it does have the lighting built in as a bonus, but it still gets an 8.5 for a great width, great flex, nice response when you're carving, and just a general nice feel underfoot with a gentle concave across the center of the deck and a good length and standing position. So 8.5 out of 10 for the deck. The remote is where this thing makes a big step up from the Flex Pro, with the Flex Pro coming in at 7 out of 10 for the remote, this one coming in at 9.5 out of 10. Now, this remote is one of the best remotes that I've ever used. Definitely the best thumb wheel remote that I've ever used. The thumb wheel feels smooth, it's really tactile, and the remote size and shape in my hand feels really, really nice. It does have a switch for the forwards reverse, which I actually do prefer over a button press. 2 buttons on the side, a deadman trigger that is only used for the lights and the turn signals, and an optional accessory mount. If there's one thing to complain about this is that it runs out of battery a lot faster than I would like, especially when it's powered off. Always remember to charge this before you ride, and if it's been sitting up for a while in your house, you might as well just pop it on the charger, because this thing dies pretty much every single time between rides. So hopefully they'll improve the battery life of this in the future, but it's slightly understandable seeing that it has a large, colorful LCD screen. I believe it's LCD, but it's got a large screen on there with lots of functionality built in, so to be expected that you're going to get less battery life. So that's the one drawback, taking off that 0.5. The only way it could get a 10 though, I think, is if it was dual trigger, because that's my favorite kind of remote. Very great thumb wheel remote. Again, 9.5 out of 10. The ESC on this board is identical to the Flex Pro in all useful ways, and gets an 8.5 out of 10. Great response, smooth, powerful. Can't really ask for much more. You also get the ability to customize it using the Xskate app, where this board can connect via Bluetooth and update the firmware and change settings. Trucks and bushings on this board are identical. Best bushings out of the gate on a urethane board in my opinion. I don't even see any need to change these for my rider weight. They are perfect all the way up to 31, no speed wobbles, and really great turnability at lower speeds. They get 8.5 out of 10, identical to the Flex Pro. Wheel options are again identical to the Flex Pro, coming in at 4 out of 5. You can put most wheels on this board. You are going to run into some belt guard bite issues on those larger wheels, but you can just take them off and run the larger wheels. I did find that this belt drive system on this particular unit seemed to be a little loose when I got it, and I was getting some belt skip. I did end up tightening that, and that issue went away. So probably just a one-off, but worth mentioning. Again, identical, 4 out of 5 for wheel options. Water resistance is again identical at a 4.5 out of 5. I generally believe that most Exway boards are sealed quite well. Generally you have a gasket and then you also have sealing inside. The battery is pretty well protected as well. So pretty decent job there. I'll put the IP rating on the screen if I find it on the website. I don't know how much I believe is IP ratings. I never recommend riding in the rain. Don't do it. It's bad for your electronics, no matter how well waterproof they are. It's bad for your bearings. Just don't do it. Customer service from Exway is generally good, and they get a 4 out of 5. Most people don't really have issues with them from what I hear, and I feel better about recommending you going to their customer service than other certain brands. Now, price and value for this one. This is what I talked about earlier. So I wasn't really sure about the value proposition of this board versus the Flex Pro, just because it's not that unique compared to the Flex Pro. You get almost the same exact performance, and you really just get creature comforts and some nice little incremental upgrades. I don't think that affects the value that much, but it is a little bit lower than the Flex Pro, coming in at 4.2 out of 5 versus the 4.5 out of 5 that the Flex Pro got. I really, really like this board. I think it does have good value, but if they can bring the price down in the future, maybe on a future release, that would be great. So all of that rolled together brings us a new high score onto our PSPEC scoring, our RBEM scoring sheet of 60.2. And the only board that's super close to that is the Nomad N3, which came out at 58.6. I will of course put these on screen so you can look at all of the numbers. I didn't put the weight on here, so we're gonna weigh it real quick. The weight came out to 22.26 pounds, which is a little bit heavier than the original Flex Pro. The original Flex Pro was 21.6, so obviously you're going to have a little bit of extra weight for the slightly heavier batteries and then for the lights and other stuff that they integrated in here. So it's not too heavy, not the most portable board on the market, but it's definitely easy enough to carry around under your arm. The balance is decent, and the sides are comfortable to hold on to, so not too bad to carry around. But overall, really impressive score. I couldn't believe that when I added this all up that it actually came out that high, but the remote is really bumping it up a lot because, call me biased, but if you've tried this remote, it's pretty awesome. I haven't tried the backfire version that's similar to this, but this feels really nice in my hand and it's just super easy and natural to use. I did hear one of my DIY friends complain that the throttle curve on here is weird. I don't really think so. Compared to Vesc, it is going to be different, of course, but it is comfortable to use and I just really like it. Only complain again, wish the battery was a little bit better on it, but what can you do? You can only get so much. So overall, what do I think of the Flex 2 Pro? This thing is definitely my favorite urethane board on the market right now. That might change if/when I get to test out the Parsec board. I think that thing is a very unique board and offers some interesting options and portability that you aren't really going to find anywhere else on the market. So for now, I think this takes top spot. Please let me know down in the comments if there are any other urethane boards that you want me to try out and compare to this thing to try and take that top spot back. I think it's going to be pretty hard to do, but let me know down in the comments. In any case, at the beginning of the video I said, should you upgrade to the Flex 2 Pro or stay with your Flex Pro? Honestly, it depends on the end user, but this thing is pretty sweet. If you want a little bit extra range, spending the extra money, I think it's probably worth it. If you own a Flex Pro right now, don't expect to get any higher performance out of here besides the range. So that's my thoughts, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. It's probably gonna be a bit shorter than my other reviews, but I think that that's fine. This thing is very similar to the Flex Pro. And thank you so much, Exway, for sending this out and letting me review it. Let me know any questions you got down in the comments, and if you like this review, leave it a like. Get subscribed, stay tuned for more content. I've got content on the Meepo Monsoon coming soon, and some other really interesting boards, as well as some DIY projects. So stay safe, keep on riding, and peace out.